David Morin, welcome to the Digital Scene Show here at the Production Summit 2010.
Thank you.
And you were just part of a panel.
Yep.
Speaking about, and you guys touch upon many topics, but that blurring of the line of production and post-production.
Yes.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is your take on that?
It's actually the blurring of the line between pre-production, production, and post.
The whole process.
Yes, that is happening now. So the advent of digital technologies really are in the process of changing the workflow in the motion picture business in a way that may seem a little confusing at this time because we're in the middle of it, but that will bring great benefits at the end of the day. At Autodesk, we've seen this sort of process happen in other industries. Some other industries, like architecture, have pretty much transitioned to a full digital workflow, and great benefits come of that. But it's a great time to have production summits like this to consider those questions and all the complexities of it, particularly when you're practitioners of the field and you're trying to figure out how to bridge the old techniques with the new one.
Sure. Yeah. Now, you mentioned, or the panel mentioned something about zero post.
Yes.
Do you truly see a future like that, or do you see less production and more post?
Zero post is a controversial concept that came out recently. I think that, in fact, there will always be post-production for a variety of reasons, but it will definitely change. And the fact that this concept, zero post, is having so much traction and that people are talking about it and that you're asking me a question about it, comes from this need that the creative folks in the industry have to see their visual effects and the complex movies that use a lot of computer graphics, to see the result of these visual effects sooner, and ideally on the stage as they're shooting, through virtual cameras and performance captures and things like that. And it's really important to them because in the case of studio executive, they have to make decisions about large amount of money, about if the movie is good and what they need to do, if they need to, get more money into it, less money into it, when are they going to release it, what kind of movie is it. They need to see their movie earlier. And I think that's what this concept of zero post talk about, because over the years, post-production has becoming a larger and larger part of the process of making movies, particularly big tentpole movies. And in some ways, that delays the release of the movie. In some ways, that creates a slow process of iteration for creative feedback. And if that feedback could happen sooner, people would be happier.
And I think truer to the reality is the blurring completely of all those lines, like you mentioned in your presentation.
Well, there is a future where the traditional silos of pre-production, production, and post, the barriers between these processes disappear. And we already see signs of that, in that movies now are greenlit later, that people working on the movie are not really quite sure if they're greenlit yet. And in some cases, that green light is never really given because the process has been very gradual. There's not that clear-cut line anymore that says, okay, we're done with pre-production, now it's time to green-lit production, green-light production. These are changing, and it's a more iterative process, but we believe also more creative process.
It's definitely a wonderful future up ahead of us, isn't it?
Yes, this is a very exciting time in the motion picture business. A lot of opportunities, more than we actually see.
And I don't know if it was you or somebody in the panel said it'll get more complicated before it gets simple, but it will get simpler.
It's always like that. An analogy could be the iPod, right?
That's right.
Before the iPod, people were able to listen to music on portable digital player, but it was very complex, right? That's where we're at. We're in the days of, if we continue that analogy, the motion picture business today is like in the days of Napster, where you can do a lot of things, but it's professionals, people who know what they're doing, who can actually do it.
That's right.
And the process is complicated and not so well figured out, both on the business side and on the technology side. Now, there needs to be a simplification, there's no doubt about it. And
standards, would you agree that there has to be some standards? It seems like there are no standards to follow yet, so therefore it's kind of hard to simplify when you don't have standards.
That is true. The question of standard is important. But at the same time, if we continue the analogy of the iPod, the standards have been used, but the final product is a combination of workflow business, right management in that case, solution to business problems, and actual hardware that delivered what the user, the end user wants. And in our motion picture business here, I think we're living through the same kind of process.
Right, definitely. Well, David, it was great speaking with you. Great to meet you.